Coming up on today's episode of Patriots Today by Chat Sports, Anfernee Jennings has re-signed. We'll break down that signing. Calvin Ridley, what is the latest there as the new league year is set to hit in a few hours? Plus, could the Patriots trade for Mike Williams as the Chargers are going to have to reduce some money on their books? Harrison Graham, Nick Roloff, a.k.a. Rolly, with you. Nick, let's start with the re-signing first. Jennings back to New England, 3 years, $12 million.
Yeah, I think this is a really good deal for New England, and you've just seen the Patriots continuously re-sign its own guys here in free agency. So now you wonder if the Patriots are looking to now upgrade the roster with exterior guys as well, because they've re-signed Jennings, Uche, Kendrick Bourne, Hunter Henry, Micah Wenu, Duggar still on the tag. So it's like, when is New England going to look outside to upgrade this roster? But a 3-year deal for a player that was ascending this past season. I mean, he was flat out terrific in relief of really Josh Uche and Matt Judon as the two were in and out of the lineup, and Uche wasn't as productive as 2022. Jennings was a beast both in the run department, but also getting after the passer a little bit here. He had 4 QB hits. He had 1.5 sacks. But the thing that was most impressive to me was how dominant he was in the rushing defense part of the game. 14 TFLs and 65 tackles. He was nasty setting the edge in the run game for New England, opposite of Josh Uche. Him and Keon White and Christian Barmore really spearheaded that rushing defense that was top 2 in all football last season and was number 1 in yards per carry allowed.
Yeah, and you wonder with Uche being back as well, maybe there's a platoon situation where Jennings is in on rundowns. Uche comes in as kind of your speed rusher, opposite of Matt Judon. Maybe that's what Gerard Mayo and company look to do to employ those edge guys there. But for $4 million a year for a well above average run stopper, I think that's worthwhile. Keep him in your building. You know what he provides. Certainly a fan of the move, and a move that's not going to cripple your finances in any way, shape, or form. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 10,000. Once you get to 10,000 subs on YouTube here at Chat Sports, you're really allowed to invest more into these channels. So help us out. Once we get to 10K, we'll be able to do more and more. The latest Patriots news, rumors, free agency updates. The new league years at 3 o'clock Central and 4 o'clock Eastern time today. So we, of course, will have any moves covered that happen around then. Certainly things should shake and could shake. So hit that subscribe button. It's free. Do not miss out. This note from Josina Anderson came in yesterday, Rolly, that as of then, which was yesterday afternoon, the Patriots still have their deal on the table for Calvin Ridley. And I think this note from Albert Breer, if you want to break it down, I think is an important and noteworthy thing to mention as well.
Yeah, if you watched our video that we put out late last night on Austin Hooper, you would have pretty much got the synopsis of the situation, but this is for the people who didn't watch that video, because this is kind of telling you that it's likely that Calvin Ridley is going back to Jacksonville. Here's the terms of the Jags-Falcons trade from a year ago when he was moved at the trade deadline to the Jaguars. Atlanta gets a second-round pick in this year's draft if Calvin Ridley re-signs with the Jags before the new league year begins at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. It's a third-round pick if he re-signs thereafter. So the Jags and Ridley, well, if they know they're going to reunite and come together on a long-term deal that keeps him in Jacksonville, well, it makes sense for them to do it after the new league year starts at 4 p.m. Eastern Time because, well, it doesn't really impact Ridley and his money, but it helps the Jaguars keep some assets, so they give a third-round pick rather than a second-round pick. And to me, that kind of just signals that Calvin Ridley is not going to be a New England Patriot, because the longer this drags out and the longer and closer it gets to that 4 p.m. Eastern Time of deadline, if you will, until the new league year starts, it tells me that him and Jacksonville kind of colluded, if you will, on a, yeah, we're going to do this deal. We're just going to have to wait.
Legal collusion, because obviously free agents can talk with their own teams leading up to free agency. Yeah, a couple thoughts here on that, Rolly. I think if you're New England and you really want Ridley, well, make one more final offer to up the ante a little bit. But it sounds like they're kind of set on a number. That offer is out there. Take it or leave it, which I'm okay with 2 because, like, you don't want to just throw out wild money for the sake of doing it. Like, you got to be calculated in how you're building through free agency. I think you're right here. 10% chance New England gets it done. I think that 10% probably is, well, they just up the offer more guaranteed money or something like that. By the way, side note, this is a really poor job by Atlanta to allow this loophole. Like, the deal should have been, if he re-signs at all, it's a second-round pick. The fact that the Falcons just let this be the language of that deal is silly.
I wouldn't be surprised if Calvin Ridley, who I believe is going to sign in Jacksonville, I have it 90-10. I also believe he's going to sign somewhere today. It will either be Jacksonville after the new league year starts, or it will be with the Patriots today.
It might be at 4:01 if it's Jacksonville.
And that's what I was going to bring up is, like, I wouldn't be surprised if the Falcons file a grievance with the league. If this happens, like, right after that 4 p.m. Eastern time, like 4:01, 4:05, 4:10, like, I fully expect the Falcons to maybe file a grievance, but who knows. To add one more note on this as well, to make it look even more grim for New England, Jonathan Jones, who has had some scoops, just came out with this about 5 minutes ago as we started filming. Within 4 hours before the official start of the new league year, Calvin Ridley remains the top free agent wide receiver with offers from the Patriots and Jaguars. Current sense is Ridley will sign back with Jacksonville on a deal that would equal or best the Patriots' offer when considering taxes and cost of living. So as we really get closer and closer to this deadline, it feels like he is not going to be a New England Patriot, which is kind of hurting. But there are other options out there, which we'll get to in just a second. But first, let us know, do you agree with our current sense of the Patriots and everyone else today? Will Calvin Ridley be a Patriot? Yes or no? I'm typing my nose, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think it's going to be no, unless they come back with one final offer where they maybe give him an extra $5-6 million guarantee, because the guarantees are what the players care about. I think that's the only way that this kind of momentum changes, if you will. All right, coming up in a moment, we're going to get to some other options if Ridley doesn't sign, including Mike Williams, which we mentioned off the top. Chargers team to watch in the next 3 or 4 hours, so keep an eye on them via social media, etc. But first, we got to talk about Prize Picks. Listen, football season has been over for a while, but the money is still rolling in for Rolly and I because you got the NBA, college basketball, NHL. All of those sports are approaching the postseason. Get in on the excitement with Prize Picks, 2 to 6 player entries where you can make some money today. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS to get a deposit match up to $100. Little 2-player, I'm going a little ballsy. So they've got demons and goblins. Demons kind of are more bang for your buck, but they're harder to hit, so they raise the stat projection. So I would assume we got to get more than 17.5 points. Alex Caruso got to get 2 blocks or more tonight, one of the best defensive guards in the NBA. If that hits, usually a 2-player entry, 3 times your money. It's 9 times my money. $10 to win 90 here. Love that value play as these young Bulls have been playing better recently. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Again, use the code CLNS. Get started today. 2 to 6 player entries takes less than a minute to submit an entry. Link is in the comments and in the description. All right, we'll kind of rapid fire through some other options at receiver. Obviously, the big one, Rolly, is maybe they trade for Tee Higgins, who requested a trade on Monday.
Yeah, I think the most realistic option, this is my number one, which is why I have it ranked at number one for me. Trading for Tee Higgins, he is younger than Calvin Ridley anyway, and yes, it would take you that 34th pick in the NFL draft, but if you were going to draft a wide receiver at 34 anyway, well, then just take the proven commodity that has proven he can be that really difference maker wide receiver on the outside. Higgins is 25, 26 years old. He's ascending. He could build a relationship with whatever quarterback New England takes at number 3 and really be that 1-2 punch with quarterback wide receiver for the next 6-7 years potentially. So if you're fine paying Calvin Ridley $20 million, but he signs elsewhere, trading 34 for Tee Higgins and giving him $23-24 million, a little bit more expensive, but like I said, younger, you could argue on the same tier, if not a little bit better, of a wide receiver. He could really be that number one fallback option in my mind for Eliot Wolf in New England.
Yeah, obviously different type of player, more of a boundary player, but guy who can win jump balls, back shoulder throws, so he is definitely a big option out there right now. I think trading/signing Mike Williams, depending on what happens in L.A., and just to explain that a little bit, the Chargers are $25 million over the salary cap, and all 32 teams by 4 o'clock Eastern today have to be cap compliant, meaning they have to be under the cap. They've got Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Joey Bosa, and Khalil Mack is cut/trade candidates. At minimum, one of those 4 will be gone. The Chargers cannot keep them all. Like, there's actually no mathematical equation where that works. I think even if they extended them all, they'd still be over. So one of those are going to be gone. I'm sure the Chargers are working the phones right now, trying to trade, get something for 1 or 2 of these guys. I think you and I are on the same page that Williams and Mack seems like the 2 out of the 4 most likely to be out of the picture for the Chargers. And Mike Williams coming off a torn ACL, you would think they would value keeping Keenan Allen, even though he's a little bit older but more reliable player. So maybe you throw a late-round pick at the Chargers and try to scoop him before he hits free agency, because obviously if he got cut, you would have to compete with other teams. Patriots got the money to absorb that contract. You could extend him as well to lower that cap hit if you wanted. I know he was hurt last year, but when healthy, Rolly, at minimum, he's a very good number 2. And for this team, he'd probably be a number 1, at least in the short term.
Listen, if you feel that Mike Williams could really be a difference maker for this team, I'd be all in on sending a 5th-round pick. And if you feel that Calvin Ridley is a Jacksonville Jaguar and it's an hour before that new league year starts, hey, throw 5th. Get him in here. I know it's a $20 million cap hit, and he's probably the worst wide receiver out of the Tee Higgins, Calvin Ridley, Mike Williams grouping, but listen, he still would be the best wide receiver New England would have on this roster, and it wouldn't stop you from being able to take one in the top 60 picks or top 40 picks of the NFL draft either. You throw 5th. Hey, maybe it even gets to a 6th, and you could send the pick you got from Mac Jones for Mike Williams as well.
And again, if you want to give him a 1-year extension, 2-year extension, lower that cap hit, you could certainly do that as well. Number 3, I don't think the Niners end up trading for Brandon Ayuk, but if he came out and requested a trade, or if you get on the phone and he's available, like, this would be kind of, I think, the best case scenario. I think he has elevated above Tee Higgins as a player in the last year and a half. He's a route running machine, and you're not going to give up number 3, but maybe you give up 34 and a 2025 day 2 pick as well, a future 2nd, future 3rd, or something like that to bring Brandon Ayuk in here. I mean, I think it's a long shot, but it would certainly be fun to think about.
Yeah, Brandon Ayuk would be my number 1 option, but when I took into fact the most realistic, I think it comes in at number 3 here. Like, if you had to give me which wide receiver I'd want the most, it would be Ayuk. I'd send 34 for him with no hesitation, but I just think if you look at all of the plans for New England and rank them 1 through 5 on what's most likely and opportunity costs and stuff like that, I think Ayuk comes in at number 3. But, man, he would be one heck of a wide receiver for the Patriots, which brings me to number 4. And I think this will not happen whatsoever, but Marquise Brown would be the top wide receiver on the free agency market after Calvin Ridley signs. I'm not the biggest fan of Marquise Brown. I don't think he's that good of a route runner. I think he just relies on his speed to beat you downfield, but he also has drop problems. I just don't think he is one of the better wide receivers out there, and if New England's going to make a big splash to upgrade that wide receiver 1 position, I want a guy I feel comfortable throwing to on 3rd down in the red zone. And I don't think Marquise Brown is that guy.
The problem with Marquise Brown in New England too, Rolly, is he's much more effective when you have a clear number 1 on the other side. Patriots don't have that. So, if you're New England, sure, if you're looking into the future and you knew you were going to have Marvin Harrison Jr., Marquise Brown on the other side is a really good fit. Like, hey, just go be a speed demon. But he's not a number 1. He doesn't run the full route tree. He does have drop issues. So I think he's best suited as a number 2 with an established number 1. And Kendrick Bourne's not that. So I think that given what he's probably going to cost, I think going in a different direction probably makes more sense. And look, maybe that direction's the NFL draft. We don't know for sure what's going to happen at 3, even if they go QB there, though. I think at 34, you could be in the range of a Xavier Worthy, who might just be a better Marquise Brown on a cheaper contract coming into the NFL. Maybe a Keon Coleman's an option there. There's a ton of receivers that are going to go in that 20 to 75 range that are not that different in terms of quality of player, that the Patriots should be able to find one if they opt to go that route.
I'll tell you this right now, the Patriots will be drafting a wide receiver in the first 3 rounds of this NFL draft, whether it be at pick 34 or 68 where they're currently slotted in the 2nd or 3rd round. They will be taking one.
Yep.
But I just think I have this as my least favorite option here, Harrison, because I would like to be going into the draft with the top 3 wide receivers filled out on this roster, whether it be via trade or whether it be via signing. I just think going into the draft with Kendrick Bourne and Demario Douglas as your top 2 guys is risky. Sure, you could find a wide receiver 1 type player as a rookie with pick 34, but that really puts you in a dangerous spot.
A lot of pressure on that player.
Exactly, and it also puts a lot of stress on that rookie quarterback that you take at number 3, because now you're going into the draft or the season with a rookie wide receiver as your slotted best guy on the outside. Like that is dangerous game to be playing. That's why I think it's my least favorite option. My favorite option, obviously, just signing Calvin Ridley, but if you could get Tee Higgins, Mike Williams, or Brandon Ayuk, I think you go do that trade, and then you could still take a wide receiver in the 3rd round as that 4th guy, maybe behind Bourne, X wide receiver, and then Demario Douglas as well.
Oh, and who knows? Maybe that player elevates over Douglas or over Bourne, by year 2 or something like that. So, yeah, I'm with you. It'd be nice to get someone in here that's established, even if it's not just your alpha male number 1, just like a solid player, because you also don't like entering the draft feeling like you have to take a certain position.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not a great a position of strength if you're a general manager. So we'll see what the Patriots do. I mean, you would think they'd have a pivot plan if Calvin really doesn't work out, because they've obviously been in on him. But I think we'll get some answers today, because I think the Ridley thing will resolve itself, and then we'll see where Eliot Wolf pivots. We'll, of course, cover it all here on Patriots Today, so be sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we'll see you guys soon.